Let's start with our top story this morning, which is these ICU beds and the situation across the United States. You don't need to look far to see what's happening with the ICU bed situation in the United States. Just look at a lot of the different headlines this morning. Not the mainstream media, actually, really small media stations in different towns talking about the trouble with these with the amount of beds that they have available right now. And so here's, for instance, Texas. Let's take a look at Texas here. So this is dozens of hospitals are out of ICU beds as COVID cases overwhelm the state's capacity. The surge is by far the fastest and most aggressive that we've seen. The health authority in Austin and Travis County, they're saying, please get vaccinated if you haven't already done so, and make sure that if you have the ability to go get vaccinated, please go and do that. The state is divided into 22 different trauma service areas. Half of them reported 10 or fewer ICU beds as of this weekend. As more than 9,400 COVID-19 patients filled the state's ICUs, which are reserved for patients who are the sickest or the most injured. The trauma service area that includes Laredo reported no ICU beds available, while the area that includes Abilene reported having one bed. So this is happening all across the South. Florida is in the same situation. Mississippi is also in the same situation. Here's what ICU nurses are saying about this in Mississippi. Take a listen.
Able to speak. Listen to what she told us.
What are they saying to you? Do they regret?
Please don't let me die. They regret not taking the vaccine. I've had multiple people tell me that they wish they would have taken it.
I've seen more death than I ever thought that I would see my entire life. It's getting to the point where we need help. We've been helping as much as we can, and we need help from, our community.
So what are the facts here? People say, oh, that might be fake news. And say, at some point you've got to start you have to open your eyes and you have to look at the facts. Here are the pieces of data this morning from the hospitals in these areas. August 10th, massive surge. Look at this. As of August 10th, 87.9% of beds are in use. And 16% of these beds are in use of COVID-19 patients who are unvaccinated, according to the data. Here's how many Texas hospitals have run out of ICU beds. During the week ending August 5th, 53 Texas hospitals reported that their ICU beds were filled to capacity. Every week, the federal government releases these ICU capacity data reports of about 200 Texas hospitals, more than 4 ICU patients or 4 staffed ICU beds. Remarkable. So this morning, I spent the morning on the phone. You look at this data, you say, okay, can we believe this data, et cetera? Whatever, you want to be cynical? Okay, all you need to do is open your eyes. Like, Philip, what are you experiencing up in Oregon?
Right now, so Oregon just is going back to a mandatory mask mandate in enclosed places. Washington State hasn't quite hit that yet, but the cases are definitely rising in both areas.
Yeah. And so I decided to get on the phone this morning. So I spent the morning on the phone with hospitals throughout Arkansas, Mississippi, and Texas this morning, and calling the ICU. Yes, I was calling the ICU departments in all of these hospitals. Now, bear in mind, for a lot of them, they've been working long nights, long shifts right now. They are overwhelmed, these nurses and doctors who are dealing with these ICU patients that are coming and that are unvaccinated. Overwhelming numbers of this. So here's just a little taste of me on the phone earlier today.
ICU, how can I help you?
Hi, my name is Clayton Morris. I'm with Morning Invest, the morning show, and just calling to confirm or find out how many ICU beds you have available right now.
Oh, hold on, sir. Let me have you talk to our charge nurse.
Okay.
So talking to the charge nurse, getting that information from hospital after hospital after hospital. Here's just one example of Arkansas, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, this morning when I spoke to listen to this. This is unbelievable. And by the way, they're so overwhelmed, they cannot come to the phone. I feel bad even asking these questions, but I want to get this data out to people. So here.
NEA.
Hi, could you transfer me to the intensive care unit, please?
Yes, one moment.
The NEA Baptist Fowler family.
So this is in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
ICU, Tabitha.
Hi, this is Clayton Morris with Morning Invest, the morning show. Just calling to find out what the bed capacity is at NEA at this hour. Are you still at full capacity?
Let me forward you my charge, okay?
Okay, sure.
So then getting me over to the charge nurse. Okay. So then I wait on hold for about 5 minutes, going through that process.
Patient experience. From adding new doctors and specialties to acquiring the latest technology, NEA Baptist offers the right care in one place. Thank you for calling NEA Baptist Memorial Hospital, located at 4800 East Johnson Avenue in Jonesboro. NEA Baptist is a...
So waiting and waiting, waiting and waiting, waiting and waiting, waiting and waiting.
affiliated with the Baptist Memorial Healthcare System. Your call is important to us, so please stay on the line, and we'll be with you in just a moment. NEA Baptist offers a wide range of surgical admissions.
Last week about...
House Supervisor's name again.
Hi there. I'm just calling to follow up. We had spoken last week about the number of ICU bed capacity. This is Clayton from the Morning Invest News Show. Are you still at near full capacity?
We have one bed.
You have one bed left. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Common refrain. So speaking right to the intensive care. So when someone's like, this is fake news, whatever. No, it's real. Okay. Just pick up the phone yourself. Call these hospitals and don't bother them. Call the intensive care units and talk to them. They are overwhelmed. Absolutely overwhelmed right now with these cases. And again, unvaccinated, according to the health authority, at hospital after hospital after hospital that I called. Unvaccinated. Which begs the question then this morning, what about the people that are decided, hey, I didn't want to get a vaccine. I didn't want to get a vaccine because, it's all propaganda, it's all a hoax, et cetera, right? So they don't want to get a vaccine. They want to take their own health into their own hands, right? It's a free country. You're absolutely able to do that. Absolutely, you should be allowed to do that. If you don't want to get a vaccine, or you just don't believe in it, okay, fine. That you are. It's a free country. No one can tell you to go and do this, right? Absolutely, they cannot tell you to go and do this. Well, then and you say, I don't trust it. I don't trust science. I don't trust the new. I don't trust any of this. Great. Then here, let's make a deal. How about this? When you get sick and you can't breathe and you're dying, then why not stay home and not then go and get saved by the science that you don't believe in? Go to the hospital then. Is that something we should agree on? I mean, it's a fair question. I'm just throwing it out there, right? You get sick because you didn't get a vaccine and now you have to go to the intensive care, right? The vaccine was never meant to keep people from getting COVID. It was meant to keep people out of the ICU with severe cases and symptoms where you might actually die as a result of it. Like if you're 45 years old and you get COVID, well, if you've got the vaccine, chances are you're not going to go to the ICU. You might have mild symptoms and you might need to stay home from work, like the flu or something. But if you got the vaccine, it was never meant like a condom to totally prophylact the whole situation, right? So I'm just throwing it out there. Well, here's someone who's gone viral overnight because his wife is in stage 4 cancer and had to be turned away from an ICU bed as a result of this. Take a listen to this.
Hey folks, how you doing? I just got a quick question about this whole COVID, not getting vaccinated and running to the hospital once you get the virus deal, because it is out of control, all right? And I'm gonna give you a quick story on why I think it's out of control. Last week I had to bring my wife into the hospital. She has stage 4 breast cancer. She was dealing with some symptoms and I had to bring her in to get some fluid drained. She was having some pain, blah, blah, blah. She was in there for 2 days. On the 3rd day, she honestly should have stayed one more day, maybe 2 more days, okay? But on the 3rd day, instead of draining her fluid and what they wanted to do, they told us that she had to be discharged because they had no room left in the hospital because of COVID. Here's my question. Why 99% of everybody that's in the hospital with COVID right now is unvaccinated, okay? If you really believe that COVID's not real, and you really believe that it's not a big deal, and you really believe that you don't need to get the vaccine, that is your right, okay? I'm not gonna argue with you about that. What I am gonna argue with about is you running to the hospital once you get the virus. If you don't trust the medical field to prevent you from getting it, why do you trust them to cure you from it? Why do you run to the hospital? If you really believe that COVID's not a big deal and it's not this, that, the other, and you don't get the vaccine because stick to your guns and keep your motherfucking ass at home. Stop running to the hospital, putting everybody else at risk, and in turn, the collateral damages. People like my wife who actually need medical help for a chronic disease get kicked out of the hospital because your dumbass is too stupid to go get a vaccine shot. Keep your ass at home. If you really believe COVID's not a big deal, prove it. Stick to your guns, keep your ass at home, and deal with it.
Wow.
You want to see that guy in an alleyway? Because you were the guy that didn't get the vaccine and his wife has stage 4 cancer couldn't get the bed that she needed to get the fluid drained because she's dying, you know? You want to see that guy? Wait, you were the reason? You. Come here, little punk. You were the reason? You didn't get the vaccine, you little 40-year-old punk? My wife's dying. You took up an ICU bed?
Yeah, that's such it's a justified righteous anger, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I would feel that way. Yeah. But it's the same people, you know, it's the same people that say, well, I don't believe this science. I believe it's all a hoax. I don't believe this science. So then you're going to run to the hospital to have people take time out of their day just because you're on some conspiracy theory bent? Like, and these people who are literally there helping people with heart attacks and strokes and trauma, literally head trauma, like car accident cases, they have to turn them away because then they have to fly them via helicopter to another hospital where that person might die because it was too far away from where the accident happened, thanks to some idiot who decides not to get the vaccine. Again, you're right. Just don't use it's up to you. Just don't go use an ICU beds then. Don't do it. Don't suck them up. I'm totally on board with this. You know, at this point. And so you want to actually know the data? Let's get into the data. So I'm all about facts here. So the new data out this morning, fully vaccinated people have made up as few as 0.01%. And most of these people are immunocompromised and they're like 90 years old who have been vaccinated and who have to go to the hospital. And as many as 5% of those hospitals with the virus in those states, as few as 0.2% and as many as 6% of those who have died. Very small. And here's how the states break down. So these are breakthrough deaths, people who have actually gotten like a COVID variant and died as a result. 0.4% in Alabama. Alaska, 3.3%. That's two people. 34. And by the way, when you have elderly populations in certain states, like in Arizona, when you have immunocompromised individuals, it's not the virus that's killing people. It pushes them over the line, basically. Same is true in California and Colorado. Look at this. This is the column you want to see right here. Like, this is the breakthrough deaths, right? Fraction. Very small number. Overwhelmingly small. And then I wanted to follow up on some misreported information about Israel, because there's been some fake news kind of going around about Israel that's been spread on social media about vaccines and claims that there are a high number of vaccinated deaths in Israel. It just turns out it's not true. I spoke to my sources this morning in Israel, by the way, who said it's just a joke. It's not true at all. That those deaths, there's been like 3. And they are over the age of like 85, and they were already immunocompromised, and they caught a version of like the Delta variant. So they were already not in the best of health to begin with. And then like getting the Delta variant on top of it pushed them into the ICU at that age, immunocompromised. Here's the data out of Israel this morning. Take a look at your screen here. And you see that these numbers are very, very small, very, very small. And speaking to my sources there, said, no, this is not true. It's simply not true. So again, we need to be very, very careful about some of these like misleading posts on social media, twisting data out of Israel. And so it's just not true. All the talk right now in Israel as of this morning is about this third booster and the Delta variant. And so you have a lot of the elderly population there. Remember, Israel is like mostly all vaccinated. Now they're moving towards try to get this additional booster because the Moderna booster is apparently much more effective against Delta. And so if you're a 95-year-old person, yes, you're you're probably not, like an early bird. You might, if you get Delta variant and it pushes up some factor in your chart, it could lead to you then being rushed to the hospital at that age. It's a chance. And as the WHO says right on its website, it's never meant to actually keep you from getting COVID. It's meant to keep you from staying out of the ICU. And that's, I think, the most important thing that's being overlooked here in all of these discussions about this. So that's the news this morning. So thanks to any of the hospitals that are watching this morning that I spoke to this morning to get this latest ICU data. I appreciate you taking the time out of your shift to bring us this information. And Godspeed to all of those nurses who are working around the clock right now to take care of these people. I think that's you're doing some great work down there. So thanks to all those people who are just working like crazy right now. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.